It's almost like I get better and better with each time. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the comic shop. It's BZ Comics, bringing you something new. As you guys can see, I just finished up the Ripper mask from Borderlands 4. This file actually came from the creators of the game, which is something that I'm really looking forward to bringing and showing you guys, because I feel like a lot of these creators or these game creators are starting to notice that 3D printing is the thing, and they're starting to show us this. Now, they did actually give you a file or a helmet if you did pre-order the game. To me, I don't think it was the best representation or the best thing that they can do, but this 3D printed file came out amazing, and I can't wait to actually build this and put this together and show you guys exactly what I did. So getting into the obvious, as you guys can see, I really went for a 2D effect with this helmet. With the Posca pens and with a little bit of weathering, you can see I went really hard to make this thing look like it's actually from the game and actually like it's a 2D prop. So that's one of the features I'm going to be showing you guys, is how I weathered this and how I actually did some of the details. We're also going to be going over some of these mesh eyes. Now, you guys probably know I use different kinds of LED eyes for most of my props. So I want to show something a little bit different in this build. Along with that, they came out with straps for this helmet as well. This file came with a lot of different details for not only the user's face, but just in the functionality of the helmet. So I'm going to be going over how I use these straps to get this all locked in. And I'm also going to be showing you guys exactly how I scaled this to fit my head and a 1-to-1. So we're going to be going over painting, these eyes, these straps, and the scaling. And as always, guys, sticking to the video game theme, if you want to know what that is, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video to see the reveal of what's coming up next. But aside from that, time to get locked in and kick some Borderlands. Alright, so let's jump into the slicer and get this ready to print and scale to my face. Now, Ultimate Cure Maker is just what I used with the replica of my head to use this. I actually use Creality Print to actually print out my scales and models with my K1, but this one I just feel more comfortable with moving around and finding the actual scale. So as you can see, at 100% it's regular scale. It kind of does fit, but you can see some of my face is going to show, and if I push it back a little bit more, it's not going to really fit on my forehead. So it is a good size, but we're going to bring it up just a little bit. Typically for me, I always see like 103, 105. I'll go right in the middle and go 104. I think that's going to be perfect. I want it to be snug, but not too big. Looks like it's still going to hit my head a little bit there at the top. So I'll just go to 105. And I think that's probably a little overkill. Might not be, actually. But I think that's what's going to work the best. Let's see. It still kind of breaks into my face. Let's try 110. Feel more comfortable with that. A little bit is shown right here, but that's not anything I'm going to lose sleep over. It might just not be centered on my face on the replica the best. But where it's not going to have like a back piece, I think this is going to work. It looks a little big. I think this is going to work. So we're going to go ahead and go at 110. So let's go ahead and go to Creality Print, scale that. As you can see, there are smaller greebles. Basically with those, I'm going to just scale those up to 110%, so that way everything fits. But before doing so, since we're going to be switching over platforms, let's just keep in mind at 110%. Just make sure that we do keep in mind the scale, 217, 169, 268. So those are going to be good to remember when switching over. Let's go ahead. And now that we're here, just keeping uniform scaling on, going up to 110. Give or take a couple millimeters off, that's not going to really make a big of a difference. The main thing is that it's still going to be the right size and it still fits to my printer. Let's go ahead and slice this. Now I did leave supports on. Feel free to pause the video and check out some of the settings. So that's what I got for supports. Speed, anvil, shell, and quality. All depending if you're using the K1 Max. So let's go ahead and get. So we're looking at 16 hours, 1 minute, and 8 seconds. You can probably hear my printer in the background leveling.
But with the supports, that's going to be probably what's taking the most amount of time. I did put a little bit of infill in there just to make this a little bit more dense. But on my old CR10S, trust me, this would have taken over a day and a half. So 16 hours, I'm definitely cool with that. The smaller pieces, those are probably going to take like 4 or 5 hours. For some reason, my K1 Max camera has gone out, but at least you guys get an image of what's going to be printed. But let's go ahead and get that done.
Comes off super duper easy. As you can see straight off the bed, it's no over extrusion. Maybe a couple of little lines at the top, but you always get that, but this came out beautiful. Let's go ahead and take off the supports and make sure that the scaling works. I don't know about you guys, but ever since they added like the integration of PC and Xbox and consoles, I really don't really like the PvP games anymore. I grew up playing like Call of Duty and stuff like that, but now these RPG type style games have really got my focus. I feel like there are too many hackers, there are too many like Zens that they call. You can do so many modifications to your controller. Even in the settings, you go to the settings, it used to be just like sensitivity and button layout. Now they got so many different controls, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so everything is printed out now. As you guys can see, I already got some of the white coat on it, which came out perfectly good. But one reason that I've been using these Posca pens, and I've been trying to master these, you guys are probably getting tired of hearing me say that, is because I really feel like those can really bring that 2D effect. If you check out the reference image over here, I don't know if you guys have ever been like scrolling on TikTok or YouTube and you see people who make those like miniature figures of like anime characters and they draw them in with the Posca pens, and it starts to make the character like really pop and look like it's the actual anime thing there. That's what I want to do with this helmet here. So I didn't go too hard with the white. I did like 2 base coats of it. The reason that I wanted to do that is because these helmets are weathered, and looking at the image, it kind of looks like a coffee stain weathering, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to be adding that method. That's going to be something new that I'm going to be showing you guys how to weather props using different materials. The main trademark of this helmet that you don't see here is the big A logo that typically goes on these Ripper masks. That's what kind of signifies their clan. The developer of these masks did come out with 3 files. One of the files did come out where you can print this out in all different colors with that logo already printed there. Silly me, I didn't do it, but in hindsight, I'm glad that I didn't, because now I get to show you guys how to do that as well, which is going to be pretty cool. They put a lot of details into this file. As you can see, there are even little eyebrow slots for you to go for you to put your head in, and a little nose slot, so that way this sits nice and comfortable. Another thing that I did like that the developers did add are these hinges at these 4 spots. So I'm actually going to be able to use some sort of elastic, or maybe some kind of like some kind of Velcro to make sure that this stays in place. These smaller accent pieces are pretty straightforward. I already got them sanded down. One of the cool things that I did want to bring to your attention are the ripples that you see that this piece has at the base. It fits perfectly, perfectly. Even me scaling them up, fits perfectly, and they lock in. So those are just small little details that over the course of me doing all of these helmets that I start to take notice of is how everything functions and how everything comes together. And there's nothing that I can say bad about this helmet. I mean, like I said, they even give you eyebrow slots. Like who really thinks of that? That's really cool. So as far as this build goes, since the developer did such an amazing job, there are mainly four things that I'm gonna have to focus on to make this thing really look good. One is going to be the color. So again, weathering this down, making that really look good, and using the Posca pens to give it that 2D effect and making everything pop. Two is going to be getting that A kind of logo on there and showing that design. Three, we're going to have to add these elastic straps. And then finally, this file actually does show, like the characters do show like them having red eyes. You guys know I always add LED eyes. I haven't, no, I have used red before, so maybe I might throw those in there just to spice this up a little bit. But enough of me talking, guys. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tackle is going to be the A that goes across the mask. I think that's going to be the perfect place to start because I can weather over that and I'm going to mask everything off to color. Now there are two ways that I can do it. Yes, I could just go ahead and freehand it, but I'm not the best artist. I can color, but doing things freehand doesn't really work out with me to the best. I can do it with pencil and then erase it and just get something that I'm happy with, but what I'm going to do is use painter's tape and line up the painter's tape the way that I want it, and that way I can see the sizing, everything like that. And I think that's going to be the better way to go about it. If I don't see success with that, then we'll just go with the pencil. But I think that's going to work out great. Let's get to it. So to make sure that this line stays straight, what I'm basically doing is using the painter's tape and just kind of using that as a gauge to see like how far the end of this edge looks to this line here. I don't want this to look thin and look weird and tacky. I feel like this is like the main part of the helmet. I feel like if I make this too thin, then it's gonna make it look a little tacky and it's gonna look a little off-brand. So I'm just basically using this as an angle guide. Could use like a straight edge, something like that, but this is kind of like what I'm using to give me a visual of like what to stay in. I know you probably don't have to be this like uptight about it, but this is like I just want to do this to make sure that it at least looks good. Trying to keep everything real light and at least get like a visual with a light line, and then if that looks good I make it a little bit darker. But this blue tape is a good guide, a good visual, like what not to go too far out of, but I can't curve it. I think I got it. Bang! I didn't think it would come out this good. From here, this gives me a good guide, and it actually gave me a good technique to use. As you can see, I had to perfect the line, and with that I had to erase some of the line that I started out with, and that left a lot of like dirt and debris behind, and I think that's really going to help out with weathering. So I might do that a little bit more around the whole helmet. But like I said, I really want to focus on like the coffee weathering and making this look a little bit brown. But that came out exactly the way that I wanted to, and it looks great. Now from here, what I'm going to have to focus on is the front grille, masking everything off to leave that exposed. That's going to be black. And then you can see some of those small little indents and details. That's where I want to use those Posca pens to really make those stand out and really make this give that 2D kind of look and effect. So let's go ahead from here and painter's tape everything off, and then get ready to add some more of the effects and details. Let's get to it. So some of the prints that you don't see in the display case, this is kind of where they're starting to make. So they're starting to creep out of the display case into my house. So I'm getting a lot more than I actually started out with, and a lot more helmets that I actually intended to ever make. So be on the lookout, guys. I do have a giveaway that's coming out where I'm going to be giving some of these, especially these, away to you guys as a thank you for supporting me, for staying here, saying kind words, keeping me going. I'm glad you guys aren't like a troll kind of community, nothing like that. So this is my appreciation giving back to you guys. So make sure you do stay tuned for that giveaway. It's going to be a free giveaway, nothing that you have to like give money to or anything like that. I'm not looking for anything back, but it's going to be all a part of a raffle. But this holiday season is going to be for you guys. Putting this tape on. So the main color, I'm gonna get this blue first, and then once I get a blue, that's when I'm gonna come over with the black Sharpie or the black pasta pen and really like detail and make this line what it should be. But for now, I just want to paint this off and at least get the blue on. Once I get the blue on, then let's say if I messed up on some of this painter's tape and it went over the black line, at least now I can make it like a solid black line. So I want to do this first, and then from there make everything more solid. I think that's a better approach. But enough of me yapping. Let's use the magic of time lapse and get through this. Bang, bang. So we got everything painted down. I took off all of the painter's tape. So now what I'm just focusing on is weathering. Now there are a couple different tools that you can use to actually weather. You can just use a simple paintbrush. There are some different makeup brushes that you can use as well. But for me, I like to use like this little mesh, basically the same stuff that you get whenever you get a boo-boo, and some of like this styrofoam. The two of these have been working out perfectly. I actually used an old pumpkin bomb, and with that old pumpkin bomb, that's kind of how I was like able to test out the method to make sure that everything would work. But as far as the colors, I'm just using a brown and a sand color. Now you'll see with, check out the top left, you'll see these little spots where I actually did use some spray paint. So that's just like a little sand color that I just wanted to at least start off with. And now I'm going to be using more of this weathering effect to bring everything together. You guys could probably hear my printer in the back. It just finished up another piece. When you're weathering, you're just basically trying to tell a story of where the prop has been, how it's been living, how it's been treated and taken care of. Alright, so I dabbed all of the paint on, and then basically after I do that, what I try to do is just use a little bit of water. So I make sure like all the colors from the acrylic paint are on there pretty good. Once they're all on there, then I'll come back with water and let the water wash away a lot of that paint. And to me, that gives it more of like an accurate kind of weather look, opposed to just like leaving everything on there dry once. Because once you start to wipe it all away, then I feel like the residue, that's what gives it the weathering effect. Along with choosing the right colors, I think the mix of that. But I don't want this to be like pungently brown. I want it to more so look like it was weathered brown, or like through time and age and dirt, it kind of got there. So once you get your main coats and colors down on there, just a matter of just being patient, wiping away until you get something that you are satisfied with. And bang, after a little bit of repetition, just going back and forth, again, adding as much water as you think you need. Sometimes you'll add too much water and it'll come back down to like a base white. But again, just the repetition of it until you get something that you're happy with is all it takes. That took me no more than like 15-20 minutes to actually weather it down and get to this point, and I'm at a point where I'm very happy. Now it's just going to be painting in some of these smaller details and accents, and this one will be a wrap. Let's get to it. As always, with the good old help of the Posca pens, I'm going to use some of this black and some of this silver to just finish up with some of the accents, and then this should be a wrap. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up this video. From here, as you can see, I already basically got the first one in, but all I'm doing is adding these two straps. I got these from Walmart. So I actually use these little parachute buckles. The only thing is, usually when you see these buckles, they always have like a way to go in and then like a secondary method. These ones, as you can see, only have like one loop that you get to loop, just like with the helmet. So basically all I did was just set one of the buckle straps on, and then for the second one you're able to adjust and open to as far as I need to, and then once I put the helmet on, I could then pull this one and then click this one in. So I can show you guys that, but I know I'm usually more visual than speaking, so let's go ahead and add this last strap on. And stay tuned for the eyes. I know I did say that I was going to use some LED eyes, but I think I've done that millions of times and you guys have seen that. It's pretty simple. I'm actually going to be printing out a mesh to go under this that I'll still be able to see, but I'll actually add some color to that. And no, it won't light up, but it's still going to look damn good. So let's go ahead and add this last strap, put the visor in, and we'll be all. So boom, boom, we'll go ahead and loosen. Fit my head in. I kind of don't even really need the second one. But I wanted to show you guys how to do it, so that's why I put the second one on. But we got that nice and strapped in, so let's go ahead and finish up these visors. So this is actually a visor for an upcoming video. What I was trying to do is basically come up with a mesh to go into these eyes that I can paint instead of adding LED eyes to still keep that 2D effect. And when I was looking over it, I actually scaled this out behind the helmet. I thought because of this like V shape that it would actually mess it up. But as you can see, it fits in perfect, and it gives it, even just as it is, it gives it an amazing kind of like background to it. So I'm gonna use a flat red from Krylon, basically the same one that I use in the Ultimate Wolverine, to still keep that like 2D kind of effect. And then from there, I'm gonna use the Posca pens to kind of paint it black. So I'm gonna spray paint it all red first, fit it into the helmet, and then kind of see like where the black outline should go. And as you can see, I think that this is gonna give it much better effect. I want you to try this. This is something a little bit different. I have just popped like different LED eyes into a couple different helmets. As you remember in the Captain America helmet, I had some 3D printed resin visors. So this is just a different type of visor or islands that you can use in any of your upcoming builds. But this is gonna be the last step. I can't wait to put this in. I'll solder it to the back so that way it sits in place. But this is gonna be the final piece, and bro, I think this is gonna look amazing with it like this. Enough of me talking, guys. Let's go ahead and finish up this last piece. Let's get to it. Another masterpiece, guys. I'm super happy with the way that this came out. I hope you guys learned a lot in this build. Again, I want to take a different aspect or a different approach with not only the painting, but how I finish everything up. With the new year coming up, and especially with this cold season, I'm going to be getting away from like the traditional just sanding and painting, and I want to show you guys how to incorporate some new and more improved techniques. I'm actually going to be showing a couple more techniques in this one, and I actually have a part 2 coming up to most of these swords, because I feel like just like with helmets, there was a bit of a learning curve. As you can see, going from something like starting out like this to now being able to make projects like this, there's a learning curve that comes with it, and I believe that there's a learning curve that I'm going through with these blades. So make sure you guys stay tuned for the winter time, because we're going to be getting a lot more into electronics, PCB boards, and a lot more. If you are new to the comic shop and you haven't seen, make sure you go over to my community tab, because I'm actually doing a giveaway for a Halo inspired Captain Chief helmet. This is going to be one of my first giveaways to my community, and it's just my way of saying thank you over the holidays and giving something back to you guys. All in all, this helmet was a lot of fun. I've always wanted to get that 2D effect like I showed you guys in the reference images a little earlier. Ever since I've been seeing that with those Posca pens, that's what really got me to purchase those in the first place and really start to give that an effect. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I can't choose what I'm going to do for the thumbnail yet, but I know it's going to be something amazing, something that really brings this all together. Again, I hope you guys are inspired to give this a try of your own. Maybe if it's not helmets, maybe if you're somebody who wants to make clothing or maybe jewelry or something else, car parts. 3D printing is definitely the way to go with just a little bit of creativity, imagination, and a little bit of elbow grease. If you can think it, you can print it. As always, it's BZ Comics, guys. Life is moment to moment. Life is what you make it, so create. It's BZ Comics. Peace.